Hey, what's up, Walking Dead family? Brian Castrillo here with another reaction to The Walking Dead, episode 18, Find Me, from season 10C. And let's just dive right into it. Excellent episode. We got to learn about Dog's backstory and Daryl during the time after Rick disappeared or died, is what the community thinks, and up until the Whisper War when Daryl comes back. And really interesting. There were some sad moments. There were some callbacks to some earlier seasons. Um, the episode starts out with Daryl and Carol. Daryl is working on his bike, and Carol's just kind of bantering, talking back and forth. Daryl seems like he wants to be alone, which is kind of interesting because throughout the entire seasons, Daryl and Carol have always been the type that kind of go out on their own. They kind of run away from their problems, and they kind of mirror each other. That's why I think they're really good. And there's some moments where they're fighting, which kind of tugs on the heartstrings a little bit, because these are people we live with for 10 years in this episode. But during that scene, while before they take off on their bike, Carol finds a map. Now this map's going to be important, and she stuffs it into his bag. But we find out later that that map was where Daryl had. He drew this map of everywhere he looked in the woods, and this is, of course, 2 years right after Rick died. This is when all this is taking place. When it and Rick is going through, the woods looking for for Rick, his brother, and he's marking off all the different places in the woods that he's been to. Um, and it just shows you how committed Daryl was to looking for Rick, because he's been looking for him ever since the bomb went off, or the dynamite went off at the bridge, and Rick died. Of course, died. We know that he's with the CRM, the Civic Republic Military, but Daryl doesn't know, and the only ones who really know are right now are Michonne and Judith. That there's a glimmer of hope that he could be alive. But on this map, they show Daryl. He's in. There's a storm going on, and he's searching, and you can see him screaming in frustration because he has no idea what happened. He just spent 2 years looking for his brother, and he just can't find him. He's getting frustrated, and the rain kind of soaks the map up and kind of messes it up a little bit. Um, but that was kind of interesting. We got to learn, where Daryl has been. But during this time is where he's going to meet Leah, and Leah is someone he kind of developed a bit of a relationship with, and as he's and these two kind of mirror each other too, because they're both loners. They both had some losses, as we'll find out, and because of their losses, they become loners, and they meet up in the woods, and we kind of find out that Leah and Daryl are very similar, and they kind of bond over this. Of course, it takes a little bit while because when Daryl first comes across the cabin, well, it's right after the storm, and the dog, or as a puppy, comes in, and he comes running up to Daryl and jumps on him, and Daryl picks him up, and he's hugging him. Dog's giving him kisses. Interesting thing about this, the puppy that played Dog, is his name is Coral. Oh, Carl, which I thought was really cool. Maybe and of course, Dog's real name is Seven, the actual adult dog. But the dog leads him back to this cabin where Leah's staying at. And when Daryl comes in, Leah surprises him with a shotgun in his face. She ties him up, and she's questioning him like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Eventually, she lets him go, and they go on their way. And I think it's must have been like 8 months later, because but there's a lot of time jumps that they're going through in this, because it takes a long time for this relationship to develop, because they're both very stubborn people. But um, I think it jumps to another point where Daryl's in a little bit of trouble. There's walkers coming, and Leah comes up and she shoots one of the walkers. And this scene reminds me back to when Carl and Enid were hiding in that tree, like pressed up against each other, because that's exactly what Leah and Daryl did here, and waited for the walkers to go by. I thought that was kind of a neat little callback. Um, then they go back, and then they go about their way again, and Daryl comes back later with a fish, throws it on her doorstep, trying to initiate that first date. So guys, when you're trying to get a date, make sure you're throwing fish on your lady's doorstep. See if that works. Um, but but anyways, finally they get to talking, and Leah's telling Daryl about what had happened, and one of the scenes focuses in on Leah's picture, and it's a picture of her and a little boy who ends up being who is actually her son, and she's telling Daryl how when his name's Matthew, when he was born, she had Dog's mother, and she was in tears. This is a very emotional scene, and we learn that Matthew was eaten by walkers, and her and Dog's mom flee, and when they get to where they're going, she gives birth to Dog. Now, um, a little bit further in the in the episode, we we're learning that we'll come back to present time. Daryl and Carol are talking, and this is a very kind of emotional, sad scene because we all love our ships in the story. I'm kind of a Carol and Daryl. I'm always hoping that someday this will happen. I see them as soulmates. There's the Connie and Daryl, and there's some great aspects between the two relationships that are really neat. But this Leah and Daryl relationship, they're really kind of they're almost like the same, and that's why I think they've been able to bond so well. But not Leah, Carol is telling Daryl that he needs to stop blaming himself for everything that goes wrong. Every time we lose somebody, it's not his fault, and he needs to kind of give himself a chance for happiness and quit and basically kind of give up the search for Rick, because he's been at it for years, and she wants Daryl to be happy, and then one of the things that Daryl says, which was really that kind of pulled on my heartstring, he came out and said, well, Connie's disappearance or possible death, it's your fault because you keep running, and you had to do this, you had to be right, and he blamed her for Connie's what happened to her. But interesting thing about the two, Carol and Daryl, they're always running. If you look at through the seasons, they're always running on their own, doing their own thing. They're both loners, and I think that's kind of why they meshed so well. But it was kind of hurtful hearing Daryl say that they were both going back and forth, and hopefully things can get better between Carol and Daryl, and we'll find in the episode Diverge, I think they'll get into this a little bit more. But when we come back, one of the things that when Leah and Daryl were talking, Leah said to Daryl, and she said, "Well, what do you want? I mean, do you want you and your family in Alexandria? Do you want to keep looking for your brother Rick, who you may never even find, or do you belong with me and you? What do you want?" And Daryl said, "Well, I don't know what I want." And she said, "Yes, you do, and you need to choose." Now, ultimatums, they never really work. But when Daryl comes back to the cabin, Leah's gone. Dog's still there, but Leah's gone. Now, we don't know if she got eaten or if she, was she taken by the Reapers? Did she go off? What happened? Did she leave? We don't really know, and I think we'll find out possibly in the episode Diverge, or maybe they might wait till season 11. But when we come back to the right time, Carol is when it's Carol and Daryl in the cabin. Carol actually finds that note that Daryl had left for her, and he basically said, "I know what I want, and that's us. That's I belong with you." But it's too late because she's gone. Now, did Leah ever see that note? Did she, or what happened? That's what I want to know. But an interesting thing, which kind of had me thinking on this episode, is they had this relationship, and when Daryl comes back in the cabin and finds that Leah's gone, one of the things they're looking around is there's a picture frame. The picture frame's all busted with glass because we saw it fall earlier, and that was the same frame that housed her with her son Matthew. but now the picture's gone. So that might allude to maybe she left and took that picture with her. But this is what I'm thinking. What if Leah is pregnant with Daryl's child? And when she was telling him that you need to choose what's important to you, she already lost a child. She doesn't want to lose another one again and go through that loss. And she wants to make sure that Daryl is going to be there without really telling him what it is. But I mean, we know that they've had an intimate relationship. They were clearly very close. And what if the reason why she left is she found out she was pregnant with Daryl's child, and she took off because she didn't know how to tell him, and then Daryl will find this out and maybe Diverge or season 11 that he's a daddy. That would be really cool. And that would add. I mean, we'll see maybe Leah come back with a small child that's Daryl's kid, and what would you name Daryl's child? What would she name him? Would she name him after his brother Rick? Would she name him after his brother Merle? Probably not. But would she name him after her other son Matthew? Would we find out that she didn't name him? She was waiting for Daryl. I don't know, but I have a feeling that Leah's pregnant with Daryl's baby, and Daryl is going to be a dad. What do you guys think? Am I going crazy here? But I think that could be the twist that we're going to see. Now, as always, I'd love to do a shout out to my friends. One of the shout outs I'm going to do today is to my friend Sharon D. She has an Instagram page called Blazy Gardner. It's a fan page. She's a huge June fan from Fear the Walking Dead. She loves Fear the Walking Dead. She has a great page. You need to follow her. She has a YouTube channel. And I'm going to put her information down in the comment or the description section of this video. But you really need to follow her because she has these great contests. They do a trivia night. The other night she had a trivia night with The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. She's a big Walking Dead World Beyond. She's a great fan. You'll learn a lot of cool stuff with her. A lot of great videos. A lot of funny stuff. Cool pictures. Case in point, you just need to follow her, and you will be glad you did. Again, I'll put her link down, her YouTube link down in the description box. Find her on Instagram as Blazy Gardner. I'll put that in the description box too. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait for that next episode. Love you, Walking Dead family.